Hey everyone, my name is Zeneca. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you already know me, you know that I love NFTs. I've been in the NFT space for a year, creating content, investing, trading, advising, consulting, creating everything NFTs. It's been a wild year, but I decided to launch a YouTube channel. I wanted to create something that filled a gap in the space, and my day-to-day life in this space is a lot of talking to project founders. I'll spend 4 or 5 hours a day just on calls, advising them, consulting, learning about their projects. And yeah, I really get this sort of behind the scenes look into what project founders deal with, and the thought process that goes behind the decisions that we all see at the end of the day on the mint site. And I was recently having a chat with Charlie, actually, who you're going to see in this video, and it was just such an insightful look into this fascinating project. I was like, "Hey, this would be a great YouTube video." I asked Charlie; he very graciously accepted to be guinea pig, guest number one. So we sort of sat down a few days ago and chatted about Nemus. Nemus is a very interesting NFT project. It's very much it's targeted at saving the rainforest. And so you think of NFTs, you don't think of you know being good for the environment, but this is the exception. This is one of many exceptions, but yeah, basically you're going to find out everything in the interview and the main video, but just keep that in mind and think about all the social good that this project and other projects are doing, and that can be achieved through the power of NFTs. I mean, yeah, I guess this is the point where I ask you to like, subscribe, comment, all that YouTube stuff. I'm figuring it out. I'll get better, but please do that stuff. I'd appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy the video. Hey, Charles, how you doing?
Hey, Roy. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Yeah, thank you for being the first guest. This is my very first ever YouTube video.
Yeah, it's an honor, man. Seriously, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we chatted last week just a bit about this project, and that was sort of the inspiration. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. Time is weird, but that was the inspiration for this YouTube channel. I thought, hey, this conversation is so interesting and useful, and I'm finding out about all this great stuff about the project. I think other people would find it interesting. So yeah, here we are. It would be great, I think, just to kick things off, if you can give a little bit of a background and backstory of who you are and how you got into NFTs, and then we'll jump into Nemus, the project.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I'm Charlie Graham. I run a agency that recently went from Web 2 to Web 3. We do a lot of design development, application building, custom UI UX. And we really, as a smaller, we're like a boutique, as a smaller firm, we really pride ourselves on super quality work, challenging, complex, solving complex challenges, and just doing award-winning work and a lot of thought behind it. So we, through my agency, I've had a lot of opportunity to work in cutting edge projects. And when we recently moved to Web3, we were approached to work on a project called Nemus, which is an NFT project essentially that buys up land in the rainforest and protects it. Yeah, my background is in crypto. I've been in crypto since prior to 2017, very lightly and very deeply in 2017. And I followed through a lot of the evolution from ICO hype and what happened in 2018's crash, all the way through DeFi summer, and into NFTs lightly more so last. God, what year is this? I can't even know what year this is.
It's 2022, I
So
think.
last year. Yeah,
Yeah.
NFTs last year. Like a lot of people cut my teeth there with NFTs. And of course, what's happening with DAOs and the proliferation of everybody gathering to kind of change how we solve the challenges of human coordination and decision making. So super excited about where the industry's headed, what Web3 from a front end kind of integration perspective can offer, and the intersection of what my background is professionally and the industry at large. So super stoked.
Amazing.
Thanks, Sen.
Yeah, of course. I think what you said about how just the one line of what Nemus is buying up land in the rainforest and protecting it. That's such a great hook. And yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear more. So let's I guess dive into the rest of it.
Yeah, so Nemus high level. We know there's a problem in the world, climate and everything, sustainability, land being destroyed, and government's working to do things around it, but they don't always move the fastest, right? So we were approached by a gentleman who works in the rainforest with several businesses and wanted to launch a project that could truly own, purchase, secure, protect land in the rainforest. And they create a series of NFTs so that others could participate in what that is and what that becomes. That was 6 months ago. And we basically hit the books really working through what does this model look like? How does it fit into cryptocurrency, DeFi, NFT? How can it be exciting? How can it also be scalable? Like, how can we build something that can actually work, bring it to protect parts of the world, and then hopefully it gets forked and like protects the rest of the world and like
Yeah.
people run with it? And I just, we talked about this just briefly, but we're at a juncture in human history where I feel like technology can actually be used as a tool again. We haven't been using it as a tool so much. We've been being used by it more so.
Mm-hmm.
But Web3 changes that. So we have a real opportunity now to take control, to shift the narrative. And Nemus is about that. Nemus is about protecting the earth, taking advantage of the tools at our disposal, such as Web3, and putting them to good use and allowing everybody to be part of that process.
I love it. I think, yeah, it's really it's just powerful, the things that we can do with Web3 now, and just sort of we're starting to see more and more interesting and just great use cases come up. So how how does it
Yeah.
work, like with Nemus? Yeah.
So Nemus buys land in the rainforest, at-risk land, and we essentially break that land. The regions are the purchase plots, right? We break those into drops, and we break each drop into successive NFT collections.
Mm-hmm.
Each collection has multiple sizes with different perks or advantages, et cetera, based on the size. And each one of the parcels within the Nemus ecosystem will have verifiably random generated traits assigned to it. So it's a lot of like the excitement of when you mint an NFT.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if you're going to get the scarf or you're going to get the bib or who knows.
Laser eyes or
Yeah,
whatever.
laser
Yeah.
eyes, and etc. Here we've built the traits around the biodiversity of the rainforest because it's a pivotal part of the ecosystem, and it's just really fun and exciting to celebrate that aspect of the rainforest. So for each NFT that you mint, there are 4 random traits that are rolled.
Mm-hmm.
Each one correlates to a different layer of the rainforest. If you remember biology or science or any of your studies, the rainforest has a forest floor, an understory, a canopy, and an emergent layer. So for each of those layers, we randomly roll a feature that appears on the back of your NFT. And that kind of carries through to the lore and the utility of the NFT as we go through more.
So when we buy, are we buying plots of land? Like, do we actually get a plot of land? Like, if we buy the NFT, do we have ownership over a plot of land? How does that
Yeah, great
work?
question. We get this all the time. It's the short answer is no.
Mm-hmm.
You can't legally own land in the rainforest unless you meet a plethora of criteria. And there's just no way to actually decentralize real, true ownership of land in the rainforest.
Mm-hmm.
There are other rights that we can pass to NFT holders, which is why we will be introducing a native token into the ecosystem to reward holders, to reward activities, participation, which then in turn is used within this kind of game ecosystem inside of Nemus. So we have a lot of game mechanics that can be utilized to, use your rewards and earn more rewards and make decisions that actually can benefit the rainforest further.
Hmm.
The final right that we are, this is kind of further down the roadmap, but we really want to establish a Nemus DAO.
Hmm.
And the Nemus DAO would be responsible for voting on various economic activities that happen on the land and the social activities that follow or precede sometimes. Historically, if you wanted to do something good for the rainforest, you would donate some money, and that was it. You don't really
Yeah.
have transparency. You don't know where it's going, what's being done. Maybe you would get a report. I know there was a project once where you could donate to turtles and you could see where your turtle was in the ocean. But there's real no transparency or accountability.
Mm.
With Nemus, every NFT sold goes either to the land purchase or into the treasury for the DAO. And every time that we incorporate economic activity or social activity, all of this is tracked inside of a Nemus data room. And we really wanted to bring the ability for just anybody to participate and actually make a difference, to vote on different proposals on how to use the land, and all within the confines of we will guide the founders of Nemus are very familiar with the property and the land and the laws and regulations and the rainforest in general, and the basic guidance of their sustainability experience will guide the DAO until a time, and this excites me, until a time when enough people in Nemus have been educated on how to properly sustainably conserve the rainforest, that this thing could truly become decentralized. And that
That's yeah.
I mean, that's the end goal, is
Hmm.
establishing new models, establishing scalable models for decentralization to help govern the way that we operate in the real world. And
Yeah. I think the end goal of so much of Web3 is just DAOs doing cool things and amazing things.
yeah, buying golf courses is great and fun, but imagine the power when we can save the oceans and
Yeah.
conserve the forests and all of the other things that we know we need to do
Hmm.
in order for our species to live happily here without the 110 degrees
Yeah.
in Portland, etc.
I think it might be useful if can you share your screen, and do you have like example of what the NFT actually would look like that people are buying?
Absolutely, and this is pretty exciting. So before we get into the NFT, I'll explain
Hmm.
just briefly how we've approached the art inside of Nemus. So each drop is going to feature a different legendary artist. That artist is going to hand draw all of the legendary features. For our first drop, there will be 8 of them. I'm not going to share all 8, but what I'll do is tease one of them. But before that, our first legendary artist is Ben Kwok. Ben Kwok, he's the founder of Bioworks. He's an amazing artist. He's done a ton of work with like gig posters for Pearl Jam, Dave
Wow.
Matthews, you name it. He's
Hmm.
done Metallica, Blink 182. Like, his work is so detailed and meticulous. And we knew we had to have his work in Nemus for our Genesis drop.
Hmm.
So super, super excited to have him hand draw all 8 of the legendary features. And one of the first ones we started with was the tree ocelot. And this was one of the earliest drafts of the tree ocelot that Ben had given us, studying patterns about some of the indigenous lore and culture inside of the rainforest, specifically in the region of the drop area. And it's just evolved into this
Wow.
amazing piece of work. And like I said, there's 8 of these that are
This
going
is
to
so
be
cool.
inside the drop, randomly generated. They're going to be very difficult to get, but you'll know when you got one.
Yeah.
And just as we're talking about the art, I want to just briefly touch on how we present the art. So the art's going to be presented in a card format. And the
Hmm.
reason we're doing this is because there's a lot of information around each NFT. I'm just going to jump over here for a moment. This is all on the website too. Anybody can visit here and browse. But you'll see, here's the harpy eagle that Ben did. And please keep in mind, this is not 100% finalized. Backgrounds are not finished, but the artwork, the artwork is there and it's incredible. But there's a lot of information like the parcel number, the actual geo coordinates that identify your unique NFT to the land, the size of your parcel, the rarity of the tier. So we have 10 tiers of rarity. I won't go too deep down the rabbit hole, but the gold border illustrates which tier you're in. And also the back of the card are the 4 random features I mentioned earlier, right? For each of the layers of the rainforest. And so you know what you've got on your NFT. One of these features that are rolled on your NFT are featured on the front. And so that's pretty much what makes up the card. And I'll share with you the card borders, the card artwork around the artwork. And it's pretty really impressed with how these
are. It looks real cool.
And how they're going to feel, because they'll be parallax. So like if you're seeing them in OpenSea, you'll be able to hover over and they'll move and they'll have some like dimensionality to them. It's just really an immaculate conception and execution on the art. And we're super excited about it, especially when we start seeing some of Ben's art inside of these cards. And the other relevant follow-up here is that we have a partnership with ConceptArtHouse. So ConceptArtHouse has done art they did Frank Miller's drop for Sin City, but they've done art for so many games and experiences online, from Magic the Gathering to Blizzard to Activision, etc. And this, depending on when this goes out, this may be alpha, but we have a partnership with ConceptArtHouse where all of the additional pieces of art within a drop are being done through their studio. So they have multiple artists working on an additional 84 pieces of biodiversity, flora, fauna, trees, plants, flowers, spiders, insects, you name it, to kind of honor the biodiversity of the drop region. And so between Ben's 8 and ConceptArtHouse, the 84 they're doing, there are 92 total features within drop 1.
All right, so drop 1, how many drops are there?
Hopefully there will be a great many as we expand across the rainforest to protect land. Currently in the first property, and probably best way to show this would be to show you the map.
Oh yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, so we'll dive right into the application. This isn't released yet, but this is
more alpha.
This is definitely more alpha. This is the experience we're building. And here is the first region. So if I just zoom out a little, we move the drops, but the first region's 41,000 hectares of land. And it's deep in the rainforest, right in an area where you could see kind of this encroaching just deforestation creeping up toward this region here. And one of the big goals of Nemus is for us to really create excitement, get a lot of people on board, and start to create almost a protective belt here. If you can see my cursor.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, going across this region to protect and stop this deforestation from reaching some of these inner regions of the forest. And so within each of these regions, we're going to break them up into drops, right? And within each of the drops, we're going to actually break them up into all these various size parcels.
Wow.
And so
each NFT will correspond to one of those plots.
Absolutely correct. And you'll be able to see, what exactly the coordinates are. If it was already purchased, then what the card art that was rolled, who the owner is, etc. So, this is just exploring the drop, and you're able to select and view a parcel and the information for each. But in order to participate in the drop, you see this kind of counter here for tickets. We're going to have an ERC 1155 mint pass, essentially, which we call tickets. And you'll be able to come in here when you have tickets and exchange them at a 1-to-1 ratio according to size. We went one step further, and what we did is created a multi-select function inside of our application where you can, if you have multiple tickets, come right in, select the parcels that you want, and then you'll
Wow.
be able to review all of those parcels and mint. Never mind this little pop-up, it's beta. It won't actually be there. But you'll be able to mint your parcels right away and see what you got. So we got one silver here to see each of the features that are on the back of the cards. And this is kind of a look into what these NFTs are going to look and feel like when they get into secondary
It's
market.
so cool.
Yeah. And I didn't really go into too much detail about the game aspect, but collecting these features is going to be a huge part of gaining XP and notoriety and additional NFTs and things within the Nemus ecosystem.
This kind of looks like a sandbox land sale, with the plots. You go and pick out what you want. Except the difference is you're not actually. I guess just to clarify, there's no digital metaverse real estate or anything involved. This is just you get some rights associated to the land that Nemus has actually bought in the Amazon rainforest, right?
Correct. And excuse me, just like the real world, like there's no overlap on land. If this is your parcel, this is your parcel, this is this area of land you now have an exact tie to. And there's a lot of things we want to implement in the future. Even ecotourism, to where you can go and visit your land, or even install like a live feed camera for the property that you're in.
That would be so cool.
Dude, I'm so bullish on like having a screen next to my workstation here.
Yeah.
Where I can just have that up 24/7 and like just zen out if I'm getting too busy.
Yeah, like this is my little oasis in the freaking Amazon rainforest.
That's it. Exactly. There's so much more utility that ties directly to the land that your NFT represents. And there's a lore, like there's a whole story behind this. I actually visited this property. I spent 10 days in this region back in September. And, we took a boat up this river to this small city called Pauini. And we stayed in Pauini for some time and then took another boat. Actually took us an entire day to go from Pauini to this region here in Drop 1. A series of different rivers that brought us down to this small, what used to be a base camp. Sorry, I'm just trying to navigate here.
Yeah.
To Fortaleza. And Fortaleza was the base camp of like the original owners. And what they built was a Brazil nut tree plantation, which covers tons and tons of internal land here. And they planted over 1 million Brazil nut trees, which if you harvest Brazil nuts, it's actually a very lucrative crop in the rainforest.
Yeah, they cost a lot at the supermarket.
Absolutely right. But, part of the lore here is that we can revitalize this region. And this base camp was abandoned. And the previous owners handed the keys over to essentially an indigenous tribe that took over. And they said, we'll be back if you can watch this for us. And dude, they're still waiting. Like nobody ever came back.
Wow.
And so we went there and we talked and we really discussed our plans and our vision. And they were so excited that somebody would want to come in there and help to set things up that could actually create economic benefits for them, social activity benefits for them, commerce opportunities for them, because man, they would have to cross a bridge, go over to this abandoned airstrip, and then navigate out into the jungle with these basically buckets on their back. And we can help to build operations to make it easier for them to harvest the Brazil nuts and get fair market value, rather than going upriver for 3 days to the nearest town and selling them for like 1% of fair market value, which is insane. So the amount of economic activity and impact that we could have socially for indigenous and for the people who live in the nearby city is just, it's immense.
Yeah.
And not to mention the technology that we can bring there if they so desire. But, and this is something that really excites me, the amount of education we can give regarding crypto and Web3 tech. One of my dreams is like to help people kind of leapfrog fiat models by introducing these, crypto models and bringing that to them and giving them a whole new way to tap into just a whole new marketplace, a whole new way to
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's changing the world, Web3 and crypto, and it's the possibilities to give people sort of opportunities and access to the world economy basically is incredible. So I love that you're thinking in that vein, especially about education. All right, let's talk about the NFT itself, because I'm sure a lot of people watching are watching because they are into NFTs in the NFT space, and they'll want to know, let's say you buy the NFT, is this a purely charitable purchase? You get a little bit of cool art. Is there any sort of plan for, I'm sure that there is, but like utility and value for NFT holders? And I mean, obviously, it's totally fine if it's a charitable. It is a charitable drop. Like you're trying to do, social change, and that's amazing. But I'm sure people are wondering, what does owning the NFT have? You hinted about some sort of gamification aspects and a token, and can you just explain that a bit more?
Sure. Yeah, and I'm going to premise with not financial advice, DYOR, all of that. We're not selling an investment, and it's not something that we're promising any expectation of price increase or appreciation or anything like that. It's really up to the community to decide how this is used and where it goes. But what we are creating is an ecosystem with a native token that can be a currency for Nemus that can connect holders of NFTs and participants in the ecosystem with people in the actual in the drops, with indigenous, with folks in the nearby cities. We can establish new routes, new rails digitally for commerce to take place. And that's one aspect that excites me. The other pieces to this is the game's going to be a lot of fun. And I think personally, a lot of people are going to want to participate in this, because as we roll out the native token, rewards will be given to NFT holders who decide to, we're giving them two paths. There's conservation and exploration. So if you choose to conserve your NFT, you're essentially locking it up. We're not going to say staking, because it's not truly by definition staking, but you lock up your NFT in conservation mode, which signals you support, truly conserving the land and also preservation and making best use of that land economically. And as a reward for making that move, for taking that action, for doing that work, you earn the native token. You earn the native token at a rate based on the rarity of your NFT. And one of the exciting things, as we all know with NFTs, is just minting, right? And seeing what you get. And the possibility of minting one of the small NFTs, you could end up with a diamond card, and the diamond card will earn the most within its corresponding rewards pool of native tokens. And so, they're DeFi elements or DeFi mechanics that we're introducing to seed the game token, essentially. And one other thing I want to note, we're really pushing hard. The token's not going to happen right away. The token will take a little bit of time. At first, we introduce the NFT, we introduce the art. There's a lot of education, a lot to unpack about Nemus, and it's going to take some time. But as people get up to speed, then we will introduce rewards and we'll introduce the token. And I'm sure we'll touch on this in a minute, but the token will utilize a bonding curve. I'll explain that in a moment.
In a good, smart way. A lot of people hear bonding curve and they're immediately turned off. And I think, again, education, we'll get into it soon. And I just want to clarify that.
Thank you. Yeah, you cut it off at the pass. Exactly. But here's the goal. Here's why I brought that up. We want the community to seed the token supply. We don't want it going to team. We don't want it going to investors. If any, a very, very, very small percentage, less than 5%, will go to any team or investors. The rest, it's got to go to the community. The community's got to appreciate the value of the currency within the ecosystem that they're building collectively. And I think it's a much more organic, wholesome approach if we want this to work and to scale. And so that's the first one, is conservation mode. So you lock up your NFT, you'll earn based on the rarity. We've got all sorts of charts in the light paper and stuff. And we'll release more as we get closer to releasing the token. The second part, and this is fun for me, because I've been a gamer my whole life. I dabble now, don't get as much time, but essentially game mechanics. So those 4 features on the back of your card, you will be able to mint additional NFTs based on those features. And we're going to gamify the collection of those features. And so it's essentially like you're an explorer, you're going off into your parcel in the jungle, you got your binoculars, and you need to discover each of these either super rare biodiversity features or some of the more common ones. And you'll collect these tokens, these additional NFTs that build out your journal, your adventurer's log. And there's lore related to this, and there's educational material to learn more about the actual flora and fauna. And you earn XP, and you earn levels, and you can earn rare titles. There's some Easter eggs in there, which are, I want to give you alpha, but I can't blow it. And essentially, you're going to earn more stature inside the community. And the reason why I feel this is important, because when we do implement a DAO, the DAO cannot be token-based weighting. So that means that you can't just buy up a ton of NIA tokens, go in and dictate what the community does and what happens on the land. We are pushing more towards a merit-based DAO model. There's a lot of work being done in this region, which is just starting to come out into like the general populace. And we're excited. Like 2022 could very well be the year of the DAO. And we want to track closely to the progress and, pretty much trailblaze with what Nemus can do for the DAO. And so the game elements will lend themselves to kind of some additional weight inside of the DAO for the people who are active and participating in the ecosystem, and so on and so forth. So it's a really cool tie into bringing all of it together.
I love it. I was just trying to pull up my screen to share, but I can't figure that out. But basically, my latest newsletter, it's like predictions to 2022. Literally, the first heading is the year of the DAO, because I fully agree and I believe that, yeah, it's going to be a huge year for DAOs, huge decade for DAOs. But yeah, I think that's really cool, especially the merit-based system for governance. I think that is, it's a great approach. I think I'd love to know more about the token. I think that tons and tons of projects say they're releasing a token, a utility token, a governance token, whatever. And most of them, not all, but a lot of them at least, are just, there's no substance to them. So, and people buy in and price goes up and there's hype around it and there's speculation, and that tends to happen with a lot of tokens. But at the end of the day, if there's no real substance to it, it ends up crashing because there's nothing there, no one's using it. So I always want to know and find out, like, what is the token used for?
Absolutely. So the first drop we do is going to be on Ethereum mainnet, and the tickets will be purchasable with ETH. After that drop, that is the only drop that's going to be purchasable outside of our native currency. After that point, you will need to acquire NIA tokens in order to purchase additional drops, additional art, additional feature NFTs, things of that nature. That's step one for utility. Step two for utility is to start to use the token inside of some of the game elements, upgrading, or maybe even getting a PFP that you can use in the Nemus ecosystem, which replaces your avatar inside the app or inside any leaderboards or titles for Discord, things like that. So there'll be some really light touch on the game side of things. And it's probably too early to mention this, but I will touch lightly that we're in talks to incorporate some metaverse experiences and to incorporate them into the Nemus ecosystem. So there'll be some usage for the native tokens inside of those integrations as well. One of the use cases that I'm most excited about is just using it as a currency for commerce with products that could come from indigenous co-ops on the land, or services that can be installing that live feed camera on your parcel, right? Or maybe going down to visit your land and experiencing some kind of an e-commerce experience, ecotourism experience, right? And so we start to facilitate kind of this transcendental digital real world marketplace that can happen based on the economy around Nemus and what the currency can provide. So those are kind of three near-term use cases for the token.
Yeah, that's great. That's more than most projects already. Do you have ideas for other longer-term use cases, or is it up to the DAO basically?
Yeah, I mean, that would be speculation.
Yeah, maybe let's not speculate.
Yeah.
We don't want to give out
we don't
speculation
know, honestly. Like, we can all try to steer and have our own personal opinions, but part of the power of a DAO is the collective mind and uses and utilities that can emerge out of that nobody could even think of. In short, the long term is for us to grow Nemus well enough to purchase up, a large part of the rainforest and protect it, and to establish.
That sort of brings another question up. How much does it cost to buy land in the rainforest? Like, just millions, like tens of millions, hundreds of thousands? I have no frame of reference.
Yeah. So, and that's a great question that brings up a really strong point, which is the value of land in the rainforest is skewed. It's skewed right now to land that is ready for pasture, like pasture land, right? Not standing forests. And so, like pasture land, you might spend $1,000 USD per hectare, whereas standing forest you might spend $200 to $500 per hectare. A hectare is roughly 2.5 acres, and it ends up being millions and millions of dollars, right? Anywhere from a decent sized plot of land, $10 to $250 million. So that's why we really we need to get community involved. We need to get people in on the concept, buying into the direction, and being part of the decision-making process. It's just super powerful. It's such a strong way to empower everyday people, like we mentioned before, to do more than just donate. The NFTs are not a certificate. They're not a receipt, right? They're your key to enter and participate in this new paradigm.
So the land on that plot that you showed me before, that's already been purchased, right?
It has. So
how? Like, how much did that cost, and where did that money come from?
Absolutely. And all of this will be transparent too through documentation on the website. So happy to share. It's 41,000 hectares. 41,000 hectares. Currently, there is a irrevocable contract in place. Payment has been made. Final payment will be made Q3 of this year. I believe the amount of that payment will be around $7 million. And that would cover the 41,000 hectares. One of the things to take note of is that we are purchasing private properties in the rainforest, non-government subsidized properties. There's a lot of paperwork that has to happen. There's a lot of licenses. There's a lot of required proof that the owners are actually the owners, because there's some pretty fraudulent claims out there that even leak through to carbon credits and other projects in crypto, which I'm not going to point any of them out, but you know, a lot of due diligence has to be done. So Nemus does own the land, has a contract. We'll finalize the contract Q3. And quite honestly, whether or not NFTs sell, whether or not this model flies, Nemus is going to purchase that land. Nemus is going to move forward with the protection of the rainforest. This is just an invitation for us to do it collectively.
Yeah. So, I mean, then where did the 7 million come from? Is this private, just wealthy philanthropists? Is it some other sort of fundraising? Where did that money come from?
Yeah, another great question. So there are a few early investors in the project. And you know, I might want to bring on Flavio. Flavio handles a lot more of this side of the business. He's the founder of Nemus, and he has several businesses in the rainforest and does a lot of the negotiations there as well. But a few early investors, Flavio included, several from a very philanthropic lens, but we've not raised a lot of money. We've raised enough money to bring the project to the public and to secure the property, the first property. We didn't want an excessive amount of like VC capital or additional investors, because it just skews the model of the community, you know, kind of vested in the project. We didn't want investors vested.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So Flavio is, I got to tell you, this is going to be pretty straightforward. Like, you know, I run Volume 8. Volume 8 is a creative agency. We used to do Web 2 work. We've done a lot of award-winning applications and UI, UX design and brands, etc. When we decided to go 100% Web 3 in 2020, Flavio was one of the first people I started to have conversations with and met with. And from an agency to client perspective, which is how the relationship started, you always kind of do a sniff test. Like, is this person full of shit? Do they really want to save the rainforest? Like, is this legit? And then you do your due diligence. And I say that to say this: Flavio's the real deal. He legitimately wants to leave a legacy of impact, positive impact for the planet, for his children, for generations to come. And, you know, everything he does is to help the planet, to help animals, to help the forest. And, you know, it just, it's in his ethos, and you can kind of, you kind of get it when you talk to him, which is why I'd love for you to chat with him one day. But yeah, so he's the founder. He has several businesses in the rainforest. He's done a lot of work in finance. Don't quote me. I don't know his bio by heart, but my take is he's a good guy. He's genuine, and he has a true interest to preserve the rainforest and protect the land.
Amazing.
George is a partner of his there in Brazil, and Karina is legal counsel. She knows a lot of the land laws in Brazil and some of the caveats or loopholes or things that we can work with. And one of the things I did want to mention, her help has been pivotal to actually find a way to lock up the land so that Nemus can't rug the land from NFT holders, which I think is brilliant.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, there's other projects out there touting that they're going to sell land, and you buying into this land, but they could turn around and sell it to somebody who's just going to raise the forest and protect cattle. The way that Nemus acquires land, it is transferred to an entity that then cannot transfer it or foreclose on it. It is essentially locked. And I just think it's brilliant. And so then also on the real world side, we have Pedro. Pedro knows a lot of the documentation and licensing and the formal legalities on the land. And he's pivotal in helping us navigate kind of like some of the forest engineer perspectives and things of that nature. And Ricardo is a entrepreneur who's also from Brazil and also very knowledgeable in this sort of thing and has a very philanthropic soul. My team primarily leading up in the ether category. We have real world and in the ether, which is just digital, right?
Yeah.
So you have myself, who I lead my team of Joe, who handles UI UX, and he's been a designer most of his life. Used to work at Ogilvy and some other top agencies, and has traveled a lot of the world. And Dylan is a brilliant backend developer, well versed in smart contracts and Solidity, and Dan is essentially navigating our front end with React and all of the technologies there to incorporate Web3, and just brilliant. I can't speak highly enough about my team. I really hold them in great regard. And Michael he's more than PM. Like, the guy plays with Python on his free time, you know, and he's helping to write the scripts about how to create the random generation and the probabilities and running the charts and simulations and things of that nature. Which brings up a great point. When we were talking about the NFT, I didn't mention, you won't be able to find any URI data on the NFTs until they're minted. At the moment of minting, we are running scripts through Python and Go and calculating the rarities, selecting the features, creating the view of the card on the fly, and then printing the address for the URI data, which is essentially the image that you see for your NFT, all instantaneously. So nobody can go in there and game the system and find, oh, it's ID number 4912, which is going to be a diamond Jaguar.
Yeah.
Can't happen with our system.
Great. Every system should be like that, but obviously they're not.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working on this for 6 months, right? And it's like day in, day out, this is what we do. So it takes a lot of work. But so I'll go through briefly here, just a couple highlights. So Brian Tinsman, he worked at Magic the Gathering and worked on the game design for Magic the Gathering, worked on the game design for Farmville, worked on the game design for multiple Zynga games and beyond. And so as I share little tidbits of the game mechanics, like, you know, Brian's genius is behind kind of steering these into being really addictive, really engaging experiences. So we're really happy to have him on as an advisor. Horacio is really well versed he's a forest engineer. He understands forest recovery and some of the activities that need to happen within the forest. James is the CEO of ConceptArtHouse, and he's helping us facilitate strategic partnerships. We love James. And Diego, I met Diego recently, and man, it's one of those relationships where you just hit it off, right?
Yeah.
Diego's brilliant. Like, he worked at Adidas for 4 years, worked on the Into the Metaverse drop, and he just gets it. Like, you know, one of the only people I know right now who will answer a call GM, you know, and it's like, and it just makes me want to say LFG. Yeah. He's cool, good soul, really wants to have an impact on the planet and to leave a legacy, and also understands NFTs, understands drop mechanics, understands what has to happen to make a successful drop. So we're really grateful for Diego being on board. And last touch, Ben, you saw his art. We are going to feature Ben. We're trying. He's never done it before, but he's open to the idea of doing a live stream drawing live.
That would be cool.
Which is fantastic. He is an amazing artist and an amazing human. You know, he draws animals and nature primarily, and really does care about this. And when we approached him, like, it was just a perfect fit. So we will be teasing some more of his work. We have videos that we want to share that are just time stretch of him drawing. And then we want to bring him in for AMAs. So, you know, if you join our Discord community, you'll have direct access to join these AMAs with Ben and maybe even watch a live stream of him drawing. ConceptArtHouse we went over. Giusti. So we are not We don't want to get rugged by the government. This was one of the funniest things I've ever read. It was in the Avagachi light paper, and they have a KYC on their bonding curve, and they said it's because nobody wants to get rugged by the government.
That's a great line.
Hilarious. So GUC helps us so that we don't get rugged by the Brazilian government. Like, we are in communication with the ministers of finance, minister of environment. We don't play politics. We're not getting involved there. We're not going to go there. We're not going to talk about Bolsonaro or any of this other stuff. It's just not what we do. We're about action. We want to make things happen, but we also want to do them under the purview of law and the legal framework. So GUC helps us to do that. Ibaru helps us to do that from the forest conservation aspect. There are some brilliant laws in Brazil on how to employ actual economic activity like sustainable forestry. And so they helped us to navigate some of those frameworks. And Flavio is very well versed on a lot of the economic activity that can happen on the land. Quetzal, love these guys. They're a boutique law firm whose members essentially wrote the Reg A Plus, the SAFT agreement, and several other pivotal agreements in crypto history. And they're just brilliant, and they get it, and they really want to see the project succeed. So we're happy to have them as a partner in regulatory guidance. And Amazix are helping us with some of our PR and outreach as well. How's that for a team?
Honestly, that it's probably the most impressive team I've seen in a very long time, if not ever. This is what a great team page looks like. You have so much firepower. Phenomenal. I love it. I love it. I love it. We touched on the bonding curve and sort of that tokenomic aspect and how that plays into it, but maybe we can go into a little more detail about the tokenomics and how that quite works.
Absolutely. So you can release your token to the world, right? You can set liquidity on a DEX, and you can allow everybody else to just buy, sell, set liquidity on a DEX, and off you go.
DEX is decentralized exchange, just for anyone that doesn't know.
Yes, thank you. DEXs, AMMs, liquidity runs off of a function that essentially is a bonding curve. So the token goes up based on how many tokens are purchased and the price increases, right? There's a few caveats with any bonding curve. The first one is that they're very, let's just say sensitive in the beginning, because however you seed that bonding curve, you're putting some collateral under the curve. So the way it works is, like, let's say we use USDC. You have to put some USDC to get some NIA out. That USDC sits in that curve as collateral so that others can come and sell NIA or buy NIA. If they buy, they're essentially adding more collateral. If they sell, which is essentially mint or burning the token, they're extracting some of that collateral. The very first amount, the early allocation of tokens, is so pivotal to the success of, well, A, a project, and B, a bonding curve and volatility, or as to ward off volatility. And so what we want to do with the NIA token is we want to bring a sponsor into the ecosystem. Let me just jump over here to our map of the first drop. And this sponsor that comes into the ecosystem is essentially going to seed the token. So if you look at the drop zone here, we have this very large parcel right in the middle.
Again, just like Sandbox, you'd see one brand ding-a-ling or someone pranksy.
Exactly. Yeah. And we have some conversations. I can't share too much more yet, but I'm so bullish on the potential partners we have lined up. It's exciting. But back to the bonding curve. This sponsor is going to bring USDC into the curve, which will seed the first allocation of NIA tokens, protect the curve from any kind of really steep speculation, take those tokens and put them into the rewards. So those rewards are then emitted to guardians. Guardians are NFT holders in our language, right? They will be emitted to Guardians through our rewards models. And in essence, the community is vested in that curve.
Wow.
And that's the brilliance of it. It's not investors, it's not outside interests.
Mm-hmm.
It's the community.
So no allocation goes to the sponsor.
No allocation, depending on how we land. Let's just say that an infinitesimal amount, if any, will go to the sponsor. Our primary goal is that the vast majority, well above 90%, will go into the community. There may be a small amount that is also seeding the token supply that will go to some of the early investors. But anything that goes to early investors or team is going to be vested for at least a year.
Okay, that's good. With the tokens that go into the rewards pool, that go to the Guardians, how is that sort of unlocked to the Guardians?
Exactly. So through conservation mode or through exploration mode. That's where rewards will be given out, through those two interactive modes inside of the Nemus ecosystem. And the emission of those rewards, depending on the amount that the sponsor brings in, which hopefully we'll have some announcements soon, but it should stretch over the course of an entire year. So the community is really participating in drop one, receiving the rewards to be incentivized to participate inside the community, using the currency inside of the ecosystem, to participate in future drops, to participate in any kind of e-commerce rail setup with real world, and then to participate inside of the game elements there. And over the course of a year, our community is vested into the base of the curve, which is the most fragile because it issues the most amount of NEA tokens. Essentially,
that's great.
Yeah, we're allowing the community to protect the curve.
I want to ask a bit more about the game or the game mechanics. You've touched on it a few times, but I don't I don't fully understand how it works. Can you just sort of go over the gaming aspects of it, please?
Yeah. So one of the secondary or tertiary goals is to educate people or to offer fun experiences that allow for education to happen. And so by collecting your land NFTs within Nemus and having those 4 features on the backside, it's essentially a treasure hunt where the treasure is discovering more about each of the biodiversity features. As I mentioned, we have flora and fauna. To break that down, there's 92 total. I believe it's 62 fauna or 60 fauna and 32 flora. And the goal is for people to collect these by utilizing the game. Through exploration mode, we're looking at 2 different ways in which that happens. One way is simply locking up your NFT, and over time, you essentially mine the feature NFTs. So you have those 4 features on the back. Let's say you have a legendary. Legendary could take a long time to mine. It's like solving the hash of a Bitcoin, right? And it takes a lot of computing power. In our case, it just takes time. And when you essentially discover, let's say, the Jaguar feature, you'll be able to mint that NFT and add that NFT, because it's in your wallet, to the collection inside of the application interface. Then fulfilling a variety of different quests, different collections based on particular flora or fauna, like collect all the birds or collect all the emergent fauna. And then that unlocks titles, that unlocks additional roles, that unlocks additional XP and levels. The time-based mechanism is one aspect that we're diving into. The other is entering into a metaverse and actually playing a game to explore and to discover these NFTs and mint them.
That would be fun.
Yeah. So, like I said, we're really on the cusp of some of these announcements, I feel. And suffice it to say that we're looking at multiple avenues for the gamification. We're not building a game. way too many NFTs out there are like, we're going to build a game, and it costs a lot of money.
It's
a lot of
hard as
It's
time.
really
Yeah.
hard. Like you better have some experience working at games. We're not building a game. If anything, maybe we have some. We can design the game. Maybe we incorporate some like voxel designers inside of a metaverse or something like that to build a game experience on a framework that already exists. But we are certainly not building a platform for that. But what we are doing is incorporating game mechanics that are fun, that, Brian is helping us navigate, and he's built Magic, The Gathering, and, Farmville and some of these other games. So I feel pretty strongly that where we'll end up with the game, it'll be pretty enticing. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
And there will be people who will be interested in that. And it's not going to be everybody, which is why we have two different modes, right? But
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that the first mint will be on ETH mainnet. What about subsequent mints and like in the game, if you want to mint your Jaguar, where is that going to take place?
So, personal admission, I'm not a maxi. I love Web3. I love blockchain technology, and I love a lot of different cryptocurrency projects. And I believe in a world where Web3 connects us to a multitude of different chains and actually works to obfuscate what chain you're on and what kind of transactions you're doing, to the extent where all chains connect. If I had a personal trademark, like for the next decade, that would be it. All chains connect. With that said, ETH, love it, man. ETH is the mother of NFTs. ETH is the predecessor to so many things, ERC 721s and standards and all of this. So, like, we honor ETH by having our Genesis drop there. But in the future, we know gas is a bit of a pain for mass adoption, especially. We could look at L2s. We can look at side chains. We can look at other chains. There are NFT ecosystems popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
From Algorand to AVAX to Solana, as we know, to Polygon and Arbitrum. And there's no reason that our fourth or fifth or sixth drop couldn't be on Polygon, or the next drop on Arbitrum, or the next drop on Solana. And that we can connect these chains through the Web3 front end portal.
I love that. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Honestly, like 2022 year of the DAO, also I think the year of layer twos. I think we're going to see a lot more adoption there. I have another question sort of on the blockchain note. It's almost like an elephant in the room. The project is about conserving the rainforest, but then obviously there's a ton of backlash against Ethereum because of the proof of work nature of the blockchain. Are you seeing that backlash, and how do you sort of reconcile that?
If anything, what we're doing helps to negate the backlash, because our project is naturally sequestering carbon by protecting land and keeping forests standing, right? And so, and I mean, look, it's going to be a moot point soon enough as ETH2 rolls up. I really don't. I try not to engage too much in those narratives, because one could argue, well, look how much fiat generates as carbon.
There's a lot to it. Yeah.
There's so many. It's such a multifaceted conversation. I would just say that, if anything, we're trying to help the Ethereum ecosystem have a better narrative and bring projects on board that are naturally shifting the consumption to a narrative of sequestration. And I'm not talking carbon credits and offsets here. I'm talking actual, like, this is Nemus
buying the rainforest.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's such a huge, like, it's just such a huge thing. And just thinking that so many people think of NFTs as animal JPEGs and cats and apes and stuff. And now we're seeing more projects, specifically this one. You're buying the Amazon rainforest. It's so cool to see how far we've come in such a short amount of time, I guess, relatively, and just where things are going to be 6 months, a year, 2 years from now? I guess that's a good question. Where do you see sort of Nemus in 1 year, 5 year, 10 years?
Yeah, great question. In 1 year, I see us expanding quite a bit, having multiple regions now that are connecting throughout the rainforest and having drops that we're starting to get ready for on a multitude of chains. Ideally, within that 1 to 5 year time frame, I want to see a drop, Roy, where all the chains can participate in a single drop.
Yeah.
And you start to see, like maybe it's 250,000 hectares. This is a massive drop, right? But you see like avalanche, like all these red parcels all kind of gathering together. And
That
then
would be
you've got
cool.
the Ethereum like village over here. And it's like people representing or people who associate and identify with various chains kind of coming together inside the rainforest to protect it ultimately, but also having fun with metrics and fun competitions. Like I want to see that happen. That would be 5 years. I want to see that we have a very strong visual imprint in the rainforest and that we have helped to just kind of spearhead some of these new initiatives and models that transform how we protect collectively. And I want to see the DAO being forked. I want to see projects that use the Nemus DAO model to protect coral reefs or oceans or mountains, natural resources, and who knows what else. And in 10 years, I want to see Nemus as I want to see Nemus respected as, and again, is idealistic, maybe. This is utopian, maybe, but could it happen? Maybe. I want to see Nemus as a household name. I want to see Nemus as like, this is the brand. This is this decentralized organization that has changed and shifted the narrative and helped to reset our planet to make it habitable for humans for many, many more generations and help to shift the direction we're heading currently.
I love it. I really do. We haven't even spoken about the mint, like in terms of like when is the first drop? What's the quantity? What's the price? I'm sure people want to know that if they want to get involved. How does that look?
Yeah, and I mean, if they made it this far, awesome. Thank you. Like, blessed. And so the mint, we're still keeping a loose launch date for ticket sales, but it's coming up quickly. It's going to be within a month.
All right.
Yeah, at the latest, like first week, second week, February.
Okay.
That's for ticket sales. Ticket sales then translates into the mint, which we are working through like a queuing system. So not everybody's trying to go to our front end interface and mint at the same time. Then things kind of go, right?
Yeah.
So we want to avoid that, but we're rolling out more of a queuing system, and we want to have the mint happen on 2/2/2/2/2.
Okay.
So
yeah,
it just seems like
that's a great number. Yeah.
Exactly. So those are some expectations there. Drop 1 is going to have around, we're finalizing the numbers here in the next week, is going to have around 10,366 various sized NFTs. We're going to set aside anything over 10,000, so 366 for promotions and giveaways and things of that nature. And we're going to have 10,000 that are up for sale. Prices are going to range from anywhere from 0.05 for a small, which is a 1/4 hectare parcel, all the way up to double XLs, which are going to be the equivalent of about 50,000 USD. So currently, what, 15 ETH?
15 ETH or something, yeah.
Amazing. There's, different sizes in between. Some of the cool things is like we've engineered the different sizes based on how much you need to spend to buy a collectible NFT. Essentially, if you get a double XL, there's only 11 of them. First of all, we consider these partners and sponsors inside of the ecosystem, and we really invite people who are interested of entering the ecosystem at that level, reach out to us because we're reserving them for you.
Yeah.
Any that are left after reservations are going to be auctioned off.
Makes sense.
either Dutch auction or standing reserve.
Mm.
But those level NFTs will roll diamond. That's one of the perks. So they pretty much we're working through guaranteeing that Ben's artwork shows on those double XLs, which is to me super exciting.
Yeah, for sure.
And then moving down, XLs start from silver and up, which have a multitude of benefits. And then small, medium, large have different benefits as well. So it's all outlined in the light paper, which we can link to, I'm sure.
We will link to that. And if people do want to get in touch, whether it's partners or just if people want to find out more information, where are the best places? Which we'll link to as well.
Yeah. Discord is where we want to have the conversation. We're just kicking off our community there. So come join us. We're going to host regular AMAs, town halls. We're going to do giveaways. We're going to have some pretty cool titles. I think right now we're working on a promotion for the first 1,000 people to meet. We have a couple of prerequisites, but the first 1,000 people that meet those prereqs will earn the Wayfinder title. And if they later on verify through Collabland and have an NFT, they will become the original guardians. And those are the OGs in Discord.
That's always that's cool. That's exciting.
It's fun. Yeah.
Discord is where real true communities are built, I think, in the NFT space. So amazing. Well, we'll link the Discord. I'll also add the website and the light paper so people can do some more research. And there we have it. If you made it to the end, thank you so much. I know it was a long video, but I hope you found it interesting, insightful, enjoyable. I certainly had a lot of fun chatting with Charlie, and I learned a lot. And yeah, if you want to find out more, follow them on Twitter, join their Discord, ask questions. There's a lot to unpack with this project, but I think it's worth unpacking and keeping an eye on. We've got links in the description below to all of that and to my Twitter and my podcast and all my other content. So if you like that, then great, check it out. And I guess if you liked it, like the video, subscribe, etc. I love all that stuff and comment. And yeah, see you for the next one. Thanks.